Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. Happy to have alongside today St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith. Mr. Mayor, good to see you.
Richard, how are you?
Good. Taping this show on Friday, January 31st, and I have some good news about this particular date. We're finally, as of today, back to 5 p.m. sunsets. And
I
maybe
noticed it was getting longer for sure.
Yeah,
It's
yesterday was 4:59, but I always take note of that. Last day in January, we're finally
great
back to
news.
5
Yeah,
p.m.
yeah, it makes a big difference, doesn't
Anyway, January's been a fairly serious winter month.
it? It has, yeah.
I think Burlington a while back had its first below zero temperature in like 1,000. Sick Burlington and maybe St. Albans maybe, but it finally got like 2 below. I think the coldest temp last winter was maybe a 0.
The stat I had seen
Yeah.
was we just recently had 2 sub-zero temperatures in a row.
Yeah, in a row for the first time.
First time in like 643 days or
Right,
something.
yeah.
Almost 2 years, 2 dates in a row. I think we had that this week. I mean, we've had it before, but
Yeah.
I think we just had another one
Yeah.
yesterday and
And
today.
that blows my mind. I mean, I've been up here forever, close to half a century, and it's been an official Weather Service cooperative observer, courtesy of my
Yeah.
jobs at Radio St. Albans and the County Courier.
Not to date myself, but
Yeah.
I remember there was, I think the month of December 40 years ago was sub-zero. There was a sub-zero temperature at some point in the day for the whole month.
That could
If
be.
I
I mean,
remember
it was just
correctly.
such a different ballgame. I mean,
Yeah.
it gets down a little below zero and people freak out and stuff. And I've got data from this. And on my personal observation, again, Enosburg Falls, the County Courier, this is official data. It was probably circa 1980. And on my official watch, I got either an official 41 or 43 degrees below zero
yeah.
on my official watch. The coldest for the record in St. Albans is 50 below. Bloomfield, Vermont, December 1933, and I looked at my clip. I have it on my bathroom door. About 20 years ago, a rural place in Maine near, I think, the New Brunswick border, also tied it with minus 50.
Really?
That's the coldest official temps ever recorded in New England. But these days, I mean, I'm just struck by winters have gotten just so
Oh,
much.
no,
And
no.
I even notice average temperatures. My memory is in the old days, my early days up here, Burlington's coldest midwinter average temperatures would be high of about 24, 25, and a low of about 5.
Yeah.
And I think the coldest I saw this winter was a high of 28 and a low of 12. So anyway,
No, it's
anyway,
it's changing, no doubt, no doubt.
not a ton of snow, but boy, I hear the trucks are, for your snowplow
Well-
folks, even a half inch, they've just got to get out with anything.
It's
It's kind of
you know,
kind of a pain for them. They probably almost in a way want to see more snow.
no, you're exactly right.
right?
In conversation with Marty Manahan with Public Works,
Yeah.
Marty would like to see a 12-inch storm instead of
Yeah.
6 1-inch storms or
Yeah.
2 inches. To your point, you know, an inch or two, you still have to clean the sidewalks. You got to get out in the roads.
Yeah.
It gets sloppy. You have to salt. I mean, for just like you would a larger storm.
Yeah.
And it does beat the budget up pretty well.
I bet. I've been hearing, it seems like hardly a day goes by when I'm not hearing
Yeah.
plows going by my
I
house.
think we went 19 days, or some amount, 19 days where we had some
Yeah.
precipitation
Yeah.
in early January, something like that. I
Interesting.
don't remember, but
Because total snowfall, Burlington, I don't think we're much different. Burlington's only up to about 30 inches
is that what it is?
seasonal snowfall now.
And our average is 76.
Average is about it. Yeah, right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 80 or so. And
Yeah.
I think we're probably pretty close to Burlington with that.
I got to believe Smugs and Jay are doing very well. I
Boy, it
think.
sounds like it's been a higher elevation winter. Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like the higher elevations have had a bunch of snow.
For an inch or two, they get
Yeah.
6 or 8.
Yeah.
So I think they're
Yeah, you'd think it would be, it's been a good downhill ski season, I would hope, hopefully for the state of Vermont.
right.
Anyway, well, town meeting day, not all that far away. I want to go back when I checked City Hall, when I checked with Nicole, there was an issue in Ward 6, Chad Boudreau, and there was another person who had filed petitions. Did you get a handle on that? But they were still checking. This was Tuesday. The filing deadline was this past Monday at
Yep.
5 p.m., but they were still checking into the next day for another person. Does that mean anything to you?
So the individual that had indicated he was going to run was Alex First.
Okay,
He's a teacher at BFA, and he lives in Ward 6, obviously. Chad got his signatures. I think it's 30 or so. You have
He
to.
having been appointed,
He had been appointed right when
Chad Spooner.
Chad Spooner left. He moved to Franklin, so
Yeah.
Chad resigned. And then Chad Boudreau was appointed by the council. He had attempted a write-in campaign and didn't get enough
Right.
signatures, but we moved forward. He was the only one
He was
that.
kind of the obvious guy
Right,
to.
he was obvious, he
Yeah.
had made the effort, and he's the only
Right.
one that expressed interest, so we appointed him.
Right.
And now he was there for 1 year and his term expires, so he has to
So
run again.
So 2 years for that term?
Yeah, three.
Sorry, 3 years
yeah,
for that
three.
term.
So he's
Huh.
running, and Alex first had expressed interest, and from my understanding, Alex didn't get enough signatures, so he would have to go as a write-in candidate against
Interesting.
Chad Boudreau, if he chooses to go that route.
Okay, and meanwhile, wards 1 and 2 are up. Tim Hawkins
Tim
running for
Hawkins
reelection.
got his signatures, got those in.
And Lindsay Hunn in Ward 2,
Lindsay Hunn.
did she run before? Who ran against Newell Decker 3 years ago? Boy,
Jamie Pinkham.
oh, Jamie Pinkham.
And Jamie is out of that ward now,
Huh.
is actually up in Tim's ward, but Tim has no opposition, and Lindsay does not, Newell is not running again.
Right, so no
So,
opposition
No
for.
opposition.
Okay, interesting. Well, that'll get you up with Lindsay's election, that'll get you up to 3 and 3, male, female.
Male, female, and Lindsay brings our average age down a little
Yeah.
bit, so
Interesting.
that will be nice as well.
And you're right between your latest term here, right?
Right, mayor's a little bit different than the council people because it's a 2-year term, not a 3-year term.
Right.
And I'm wrapping up my first year of the 2-year term. So,
Right. And of course, you're all equal in the big bucks that the city pays
yeah,
you,
we all get paid
which is
equal
nothing.
amount. Yeah,
I told you, I mentioned that to some people, and they literally don't believe me. When I say I
Yeah.
regularly interview the mayor of St. Albans, yeah, what does he or she get? About nothing. Nothing? Anyway.
Yeah, no, I remember a conversation I had with a constituent that the individual wasn't happy with a parking situation. And the comment was made that you politicians are all alike. And I said, well, let's back up here a little bit. I said, I don't consider myself a politician, number one, more community service, and
Right.
we don't get paid. You don't get paid at all? And then the tone of the conversation
Yeah.
changed significantly once we clarified that we were all volunteers.
Interesting. So town meeting day not too far away, and you've just wrapped up budget work for fiscal 2026. So let's talking what, about a $14.4 million spending plan? Does that sound about right, or am I off on that?
Tell you the truth, I didn't even pay attention to
That's
the bottom
okay.
line. It's more about,
The main
What the
increase
increase,
being
yeah.
PD and raising the officers' salaries.
yes. So
And-
the key to that is, I tell people all the time, the irony of the whole conversation is 4 years ago, we went through the whole defund the police initiative. And here we are, funding levels for police departments are at their probably all-time high.
No, for sure.
And a lot of it is dealing with exactly what, and we're not alone.
Yeah,
Swanton's in the same situation, Milton, Waterbury, name any city in
Sure.
the state. We are all addressing petty crime. We're addressing loitering issues. We're addressing domestic, not violence, but domestic issues.
yeah.
So our police are spending a lot of time on that. And we did reestablish the street crimes unit,
Right. that's
which I
back-
think
that's
will
back up.
pay dividends here moving forward. I think it already has.
In fact, I heard, just mentioned, I went to the, kind of the summit at City Hall last night.
Yeah.
Amazing for me. I went to the legislative breakfast earlier in the week. I usually do maybe one meeting a year. I did 2 this week, but Lieutenant Weatherby spoke and had stats for the city PD and had stats and just noted just stuff like shoplifting
Right.
and saying, unfortunately, we're just a lot more reactive than proactive with all the stuff we're getting. But I guess the best news I heard from him was, but we're fully staffed at least.
Yeah, I didn't, I went to that summit as well, got there a little
No, you were
late.
there too.
I got there a little, I didn't see Jason speak.
Yeah.
But, the total increase of the city budget is 8.5%. We made some adjustments Monday night or Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And what I encourage people to look at is the last 3 years. You know, 3 years ago or 2 years ago, it was a 2.9% increase.
Yeah,
Last year it was a 0.6%, less than
Wow.
1% increase.
wow,
And then this year is 8.5, of which a good chunk of it is a public safety budget.
yeah.
You know, if
And the town, for the record, St. Albans Town is paying that, you're splitting
they
that
pay
50/50,
50/50,
correct?
Yep. And so if you look at the average over the 3 years is 4%, which I think is below cost of living and obviously
Yeah.
inflation for sure.
Yeah,
But we had to bring our starting pay rates up, which then elevates everyone else's in some form or fashion.
yeah,
But we're competing, I was talking to Bill Sheets, who was a state police officer.
the Swanton Village manager.
Swanton Village manager,
Really
who's-
high on Bill, Bill's a real solid guy.
Yeah, and he said, when he got out of the academy, the state of Vermont had 2,200 applications
Wow.
for 22 positions, if I understood him
Is
correctly.
that right? Wow,
Now you wouldn't even come close to that.
yeah, for sure.
So you're competing for officers. Milton elevated their pay. Swanton and St. Albans are about the same level.
Yeah,
So we were paying a starting police officer $28 an hour to
Huh.
begin with, and that in this day and age
just doesn't cut it.
it doesn't cut it. It's,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, it's ridiculous
Yeah.
to be at that level for what they do and what they have to deal with.
Yeah.
And you just saw the situation up in Coventry. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen.
In fact, I guess Trump's new Homeland Security
Yeah, it was up
chief
there.
was up there yesterday.
Yeah,
Interesting.
which whether you like Trump or not, I thought that was great to have that kind of presence,
Yeah.
to really take to heart the death of this,
Yeah.
Customs or Border Patrol,
Yeah,
and to have someone come from Washington, and I think it'd be great for the family to see that, and
yeah.
I just think it was.
That's surprising. I just heard that on radio. I didn't see any of the TV news on
I was
that.
impressed with the fact that she made the effort
Yeah.
in her first week or 2 weeks
Yeah,
to make that effort. I just thought it was wonderful.
yeah. No, I thought for years, just the immigration issue, as I would tell my typically more liberal friends, I said, boy, I think Trump, the immigration issue may be all he needs. I just think that was a huge issue for him that hurt the Democrats.
Yeah, for sure. So we going back to the police officers,
Yeah.
we brought them up. I think that we started at $31 an hour.
Huh.
Good benefits for sure. We paid the health insurance. So, but you're always competing. It's no different than, a teacher leaving to go from. I just had this conversation. BFA loses, and city school I think lose a lot of, not a lot, but they lose teachers
But
to
the
the
Chittenden County, Essex, whatever.
Essex, South Burlington, CVU, all paying more.
Yeah,
So we need to be competitive, and what I would say, Richard, is that we had a public forum this past May, I think it was.
very well attended. That's the one.
250 people
Yeah.
attending or more,
Yeah,
and the message was,
Yeah.
we can't have this, we can't have these issues with public safety, petty theft, car break-ins, all that.
yeah,
And we took that to heart, the council took it to heart. We knew that we had to continue to be competitive. I think we added one other officer within the budget.
yeah. And
So we-
again, resurrected street crimes unit.
And brought the street crimes unit back, correct? I mean, so I think the public should know that we are responding to their concerns.
Yeah.
And it does mean that it's gonna cost you more money. I think back when Pete Delorier was mayor, and they did a special addition to the budget to hire, I think, two more officers at the time, if I
Yeah.
remember right. So it's a situation where people are concerned about petty crime and other activities and drug activities. And we're hoping that this, along with some other, the public nuisance ordinance that we pass, are gonna make a difference in St. Albans.
I guess winter kind of helps with at least some of
Yeah.
that stuff, obviously.
No doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt. The individuals who may be looking for a place to live, not usually, but we have found that have found places to sleep on a couch or get out of the cold.
Right.
Um,
So we're not talking any homeless encampments at this point, or am I wrong about that?
Well,
or
no,
unknown?
I think they're few and far between. I have not heard of any new
Yeah.
ones.
Boy,
I'm sure they're
imagine-
out there, but
I mean, imagine, I mean, it just can't, the older I get, I mean, just.
yeah, no. I mean, Tim's House opens up for their lobby for people to come in throughout the night when we do have the cold temperatures.
Yeah.
It allows them to hang out there for a period of time.
Yeah, and Spectrum's working on that. I guess,
Spectrum's working on their youth housing.
Yeah,
So, but, you know, the budget is, you know, no one on the council wants to have an 8% increase on the budget, but at the same time, there's trade-offs. If people don't want to vote for that budget, then
yeah.
we'll have to look at making cuts at some point.
Have you got concern? I mean, the city budget, I think the last time the city budget went down was when Marty Manahan was mayor and the city fire department was downsized, which created, as you know, reasonable, I give
Yeah.
Marty and the council credit. It was, you know, not a popular thing to do, but it seemed like it made sense, but it's been a long time. Have you got concern? Do you think this might be a tougher vote?
I think the concern on the council is that we're also proposing a bond vote for a overflow tank, if you will. I'm not sure if you followed that, but you know, historically, when we have large storms,
Yeah,
we have an overflow piece of the stormwater
right,
or the wastewater plant. It can't control the amount of water that it takes in,
right.
so we shock it with chlorine, I believe, and then
So there is some treatment.
there
It's
is
not-
some treatment for sure.
Okay,
Not as much as what would be a traditional
yeah,
situation, but it gets treated, and then it heads into the brook and eventually to the lake. I've always talked about this, why don't we capture that overflow amount someplace, and then as the storm subsides or the system allows for it, we filter it out into the system and let it be treated like it would on a normal basis.
yeah.
So we're looking at constructing a 500,000 gallon tank
Huh.
underground at Holton Park. For the most part, no one would ever know it's there.
Yeah,
And 500,000, I think,
Interesting.
you never know where the climate issues are going, but we've never released more than that amount, you know, for an overflow situation. So we're hoping that's going to be enough to resolve the situation. You know, I think we're one of the first communities to come up with a
Interesting.
system of this. It's not cheap.
What are we talking for the bond issue?
The bond could be as low as $3 million.
Huh.
The cost of it is $6.8 million, but the state still has ARPA dollars in the amount of 2.8 that we would be eligible for. We are eligible for. I believe we got a commitment for it, so that brings it down to 4. And then there's another funding opportunity where it would be $1 million loan, which the expectation is it would be forgivable.
Huh.
So the bond would be for $3 million. I think it'd be huge to be able to capture that and to eliminate that overflow into the lake.
That's right. Was Houghton Park, was that kind of the obvious, or?
That's the low point of the system.
Okay.
So whenever
Interesting.
the system is overrun with stormwater,
Yeah,
that actually bubbles up out of manholes down at the corner of
no, really.
South Elm and Lower Weldon,
Interesting.
right by the tennis courts.
Huh.
So that always, if the storm is bad enough, if you drove down there, that would always be flooded.
No, thanks for mentioning that. I had seen references, I wasn't clear on, I had seen the references to Houghton Park and underground tanks, so thanks for
Yeah, so
explaining that.
that will divert it into those tanks, and when
Interesting.
things reside, then
Yeah.
they would filter it into the wastewater plant.
Anything else? So we have the budget, we had the bond vote, anything else
No,
of note?
those are mainly it. I mean, You know, and that's a concern. Councilman Hawkins had concerns about doing both.
Yeah,
The issue is that 2.8 million of ARPA dollars goes away if we wait much longer. So instead of doing a $3 million bond, we might have to
Wow.
do, we might be up to 5.8 million.
wow,
So it's instrumental that we vote on this and pass it because, you know, the 2.9 is almost half the cost.
interesting.
So that, I think it'd be great. I think it's great for our infrastructure. I think it'd be great for the lake, obviously. I think it's long overdue. And I'd like to think that if we can manage to construct this, I'd like to think that there's a number of other communities along the lake that would look at this as
I
a,
mean, Burlington has certainly had that issue big time, I think, at times.
yeah,
And I'm sure others.
ironically, we seem to get more coverage when we do it than
Yeah.
when Burlington does it.
Yeah.
But it would be, and I get their overflows are much greater than ours, but it still could be a good example of how we protect the lake.
All right, back to the budget, again, going from a messenger story, I think it is a 14.4 million proposed fiscal 2026 budget, but the reference in this story was less than half of that would be generated, if I read it correctly, less than half would be generated by property taxes, but that begged the question to me, where are the millions of dollars as part of that budget coming from? I mean,
Well,
I realize you get a lot of outside money, but I guess,
yeah, I mean, the tax dollar, V-Trans, we get an allocation from
Yeah.
V-Trans. You have fees. The rec department brings in a substantial amount of fees
boy, it
as
sounds
well.
like I interviewed Kelly V. Ensign and Lee Barrett the other day. Boy, summer camp, that sounds like that's big, and they're doing more summer. But the dollar figure that's generated blew my mind. I
Yeah.
had no clue what that brings in for
Yeah,
rec.
couple of things on that. You know, I joked with people, I mean, they opened up the online registration
Huh.
and it filled in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I
For
joked,
for the summer day camps?
for
Or
the summer day camp, right?
Okay.
So all the
Wow.
day camp spots were filled
Wow,
electronically
wow.
in 10 or 12 minutes.
Sounds like going to a big-time concert
Well,
or something.
And that, you take the words out of my mouth, Richard, because I said it's almost like a Taylor Swift concert, right? You have to be ready to go.
Is that right? That's
Yeah,
incredible.
12 minutes.
Wow.
People were upset. They couldn't get in. They were in a holding pattern.
Yeah,
So kudos to Kelly and Lee. They reached out to, where else could they add? Because right now the
and this is all at Hardak, where this has been to date?
to date has all been at Hardak. And they have, there's a maximization of the facilities, right? I mean, if a thunderstorm comes through,
Yeah,
you don't want kids hanging out under a tent or
Sure.
in the pool, obviously.
Right.
So they utilize the Greg Brown Lodge, and to add more kids, at least at Hardak,
right,
that we don't have the accommodations for bad weather.
yeah,
So Kelly and Lee reached out to the complex, the Collins Pearly, and they are working on arrangements to have another wing of the
right,
childcare, if you will, at the complex. So
right.
they can do a lot of the same things. The only thing that would not be available at the complex would be the pool, but we can shuttle kids back, and it's only a mile down the road.
Yeah,
So we can shuttle kids back and forth to the pool when the time's right. So I'm not sure, I think, don't hold me to this, but I think that the additional numbers was gonna be 89 additional spots for
yeah,
summer camp.
wow,
And it is a moneymaker for sure. It covers the cost for the day camp for sure. It employs who knows how many high school and college students.
right,
So that's usually a lot of their first jobs, and
yeah,
we get nothing but good reports on the quality of the camp. And
interesting.
so, yeah, and then as you know, the rec department handles the movie theater as well.
Just about to bring that up, and I've logged a bunch of time there recently. I mentioned great local movie this week, The Farm Boy, which
Yeah.
a bunch of people saw, but no, I know the rec department, Kelly and company have worked really hard on just kind of restoring the Weldon. And I've got a couple of friends who kind of jumped on that, seeing a figure, I think an inaccurate figure about what the Weldon was costing or something, but it was a figure that was just not accurate.
Yeah, I would say those individuals should stick to the sports show.
Yeah.
No, I know who you refer to.
Yeah.
So I say that tongue in cheek, but the issue is a number of things. If you've been to the Weldon lately,
Yeah.
the cleanliness, the neatness, the painting, the upkeep,
Right.
The improvements are huge.
And I quickly point out, St. Albans City, St. Albans now has something Burlington does not have, a downtown
there you
movie
go.
theater.
There you go. Right.
I mean, how unbelievable
Yeah.
is that?
You're right. And the movie, they had a very busy winter season. I mean, a lot of the revenue depends on what movies are released, right? And
And Kelly
the-
said the kids' movies especially do very,
Yeah.
very well, I guess.
so over Christmas, they had very good numbers, were great. They've actually hired a manager now who
I met Tim Haddock, I met Tim.
yep, and has done a great job.
Yeah.
So I think the cost in the upcoming year, I think, is going to be $65,000 to the city.
Yeah.
And I think, from my perspective, and I think the council's perspective, is that's a good investment to maintain a movie theater in your community downtown.
Yeah.
It's a draw. People go out to eat beforehand.
Yeah.
I think it's quality. We attract a number of people from Canada to come to the movie theater,
And especially
along the
with Berlin, I
border.
was asking Kelly, boy, it'd be nice if you could somehow get folks to the south. I'm sure they get some, but, Milton, north end of
Yeah,
Burlington
yeah.
and stuff, hey, come on up for a movie and eat at a good restaurant.
Yeah.
So, but you definitely get some Canadian, some
Oh, for
Quebec
sure,
traffic.
for sure. So we stand behind the decision to buy the Weldon. We
Yeah.
think it's been, like I said, it's come a long ways. Whether we keep it forever, that's a discussion
And
for
some
the
hope to
future.
do more than movies here, Tim? I'm not dreaming.
Yeah, I think we look at the Essex theater model.
Yeah.
I can't think, Essex something.
Just at the outlet malls here.
Yeah, the
I've
outlet,
never
so-
even- yeah.
So they have live
Yeah, they have
music
stuff.
and whatnot, so
Right.
we're looking at that model, if you will.
Huh.
I think we had to get a manager in place and give them the opportunity to tie into City Hall Auditorium
Yeah.
along with the movie theater, and what can we do there. But I think at some point, I think the city needed to make the investment, and like I said, if people haven't been, they should go.
Yeah,
I think
give it
you'll,
a-
I think
give it
you'll
a
be
chance.
impressed with the facility, impressed with the makeover, if you will. That it's another opportunity for when we talk day camps, they can bring rainy days, they can bring kids to the movies. So there's a lot that can be done with the Weldon. It's, the first hurdle was to get it cleaned and upgrade, and we're there.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm very impressed, and I'll certainly try to give it as much, again, I think it's just a tremendous resource
Yeah.
for downtown.
No doubt.
Speaking of which, the proposed restaurant across from City Hall, are we not gonna make it at some point, or?
At some point, we
Or
hope,
at some
Richard.
point you hope, huh?
there's-
Unfortunately, not about 40 seconds.
Okay, quickly, we had hoped for September, have struggles with finding trades to do the necessary work, plumbing, electrical, so that's been a delay. But it's still moving forward. I would also say that we've had a thrift shop open up downtown, and another one is sort of renovating, getting ready to open, so I think the niche for the city might be that type of thing where where thrift, and not that everyone's gonna be, but we also have the bake shop looking to go in where the Hangry Donut was. We're doing the renovations at where 54 Main for apartments, and then there's a new restaurant that will be moving into that. So a lot of activity, so we're excited about where we're headed for the spring.
Okay, we'll leave it on that note. Thanks to St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith. Thanks to my
Thanks, Richard.
producer, Alan Cunningham. And we appreciate you watching us here on Northwest Access TV. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time.